Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reviewing the film Nomadland. This stars Frances McDormand. She basically plays a woman who. So this takes place back in 2011, where she plays a widow of a man who, uh, after her husband passed and after a plant that she'd be working at in northern Nevada closes down, basically it's a small little desert town where she'd been living all her life. She decides to basically sell everything she owns. Well, basically sell the little house she lived in, and all her possessions. She buys a van and she decides to just start to tour the country and basically kind of live off the grid. And she's brand new to this lifestyle. So she decides to get this van, and then then drives to an RV park. And at RV park, there are fellow nomads like her. And basically, there she meets people who kind of teach her a little bit of the ropes of living. Living on her own, like it's like how to change a tire, how to what kind of buckets you use for when she has to, go number two. You know what I'm saying? Basically, like teach her all this skills. As one lady she meets named Swanky, she comes kind of a little close to. She can tell Swanky's a little off, but Swanky is one of the people who teaches her, to teach her like, hey, you can't be out here in the middle of the road without like a spare tire if you're because her tire goes flat at one point. She needs Swanky to help her out. So like Swanky teaches her some things, but then later on, Swanky tells her that she's dying of cancer, that she only has a couple months to live. And so then, but eventually, she leaves this RV park and goes on her own. Well, first before that, she'd been working. She's working several different jobs. One, she works at a fulfillment center at Amazon in there, and well, I have my personal opinions about Amazon, especially about the fulfillment centers, but I'll leave that for another video. And that's kind of what she's doing now. That she leaves the RV park, she goes lurk other jobs. Like she goes to Badlands National Park in South Dakota and works for a time. And she also meets a guy named Dave. He's a fellow nomad. I guess she met him previously at that RV park, and then she runs into him again at Badlands Park, where she's working as a volunteer. And you tell after a while that Dave kind of likes her and stuff. And then, but while there, Dave he's tracked down by his son, and his son tells him that he's about to have a child, and he would like him to come and stay with him and his wife to get to know their grandkid, his grandkid. So then Dave asks Fern to come with him, and Fern's like, no, I want to do my own thing. So eventually they part, and Fern continues to go cross country. She works like at a beet farm and some other end jobs. At one point, her car breaks down, and the bill is really like it's over like $2,000 bill for repair, and she can't afford it. So what she ends up is calling out her sister to help loan her the money, and so she ends up going to her sister's house and stays for a day or two with her and her husband there, and to get the money. And then, of course, while they're there, she has a little bit of a falling out, not quite a big falling out, but a definitely difference opinion with her and the husband, because her and husband, the sister and husband, think that Fern just kind of threw everything away after her husband died, and decided to hit the road just because out of the lark. And she kind of takes offense. It's like, oh, you think I just threw everything away? That I'm doing this for fun? Like, no, I needed to get out of there where she was, and I needed to find myself. And she tells her sister that I because her sister was kind of like, you left me when you were young. You were never here for me. I needed my big sister or whatever. And she tells her like, I needed to find myself. I couldn't stay in one place here. I mean, it's content for you to stay in this house and live this kind of life. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I think that's kind of good theme she had going there. Like the tension is between people who live in houses and live a traditional life versus people who live in like RVs and decide to like roam for a living and kind of rough it and do their own thing. So there's always kind of be that divide there. But so then, yeah, so after like 2 days, she leaves her sister's place and goes back on the road. And then after a while, she takes Dave up on his offer and goes visits him at his son's place. And while she's there, she's noticed like, oh, your tire's flat, and he's like, oh, really? Okay. But it's significant because then he later tells her that, oh, he's decided to stay there long term. He's no longer going to be a nomad, at least for a while. And she's there, helping take care of the grandson. And he invites her to stay there with him. He's like, oh, we have a guest house here. And even Dave's son's like, yeah, he really likes you. He would like you to, to stay, like, you develop a relationship. And you can tell that she is not into this. Like, I guess in a way she's kind of gotten a little accustomed to nomad style, so she doesn't want to stay in one place for too long. And so she, after like 2 or 3 days, she leaves and decides to go to the ocean. And so it's throughout the whole movie, she's constantly visiting places. She has had that travel bug. I guess she lived in that little Nevada town for all her life. She's kind of become anxious. She doesn't want to stay in one place for too long. She wants to see the country. She wants to make the most out of her remaining years. And I can kind of very much relate to that. I definitely love to travel too. And I if I get the chance to do that, to travel, I would love to too. So I see how that's appealing. And so yeah, so it ends up she ends up Dave, and then she goes around. She goes back, works in the center a little more, and then she actually goes visit that town again, to see the abandoned factory where they had closed and see where she used to live. Like, everything's abandoned, nobody there. It's like pretty much a ghost town now. And then after that, she decides to go back on the road. So I thought this is a very pretty touching film. I think it's good. Well, it relates to it's placed 10 years ago, but it definitely relates to now because of what the economic situation that we're currently going through in this country with the pandemic. So many people out of work, so many people losing their homes, and they're being evicted from their apartments, things like that, and they're being forced to, either living on the street, or you can, be a nomad like this and live on the road and kind of make it on your own. And I think it's kind of a point. This film very much has a poignant message of what this country's going through right now, and it very much is very much relatable, and it's definitely a movie for its time as of this point. So I thought it was very well directed. In fact, I think it's gotten several Golden Globe nominations. I'm pretty sure it will be nominated for Academy Awards, like especially for Best Picture, Best Actress for Frances McDormand, and for Best Director. Like the major, I'm pretty sure that the major awards it will be nominated for. So I highly recommend this movie. It's very poignant, to see, how people kind of want to break out of a lifestyle, like especially if if you've had loved ones close to you die and you don't feel like you need to stay somewhere anymore. If you can, you might as well move and get out there. And change is hard, but it's it's something you can do. And then I find some are this is somewhat relatable because I always thought yeah, hey, if I ever really out of job for a long time, I could just maybe live on the road, go for a long road trip. That does sound appealing to it. I mean, it definitely has its drawbacks to it, like not having services, and you have to rough it, and you have to figure everything out on your own. But that would kind of be a fun lifestyle because I'm currently out of work for a little while. Hopefully, I find something soon, so I could see how appealing. Like, hey, I'm out of work. I'm not. What am I doing here? Let's go find something new, find new opportunities somewhere else. So I can kind of relate to how her mentality is in this movie. That's like she wants to keep moving, and kind of that restless spirit of I've been with somewhere so long now I just want to change. So I thought it was a very well done, well acted, well directed movie. So I highly recommend Nomadland. It's available on Hulu. For you that have Hulu, I highly recommend checking it out because you will see it during awards consideration. So once again, that's my review of Nomadland. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. And if you have seen it, leave a comment down below what you thought of the movie. Once again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much.